Patreon.com/the Walk Off Podcast. $4 a month gets you in there.
If you're watching this right now and you haven't hit the like button, Billy, get on it. Bug your brother. Tell him to do the same.
Santiago Espinal, I mean, we'll get right into it, but Santi's not playing. He's just not playing.
Yeah, very low
been
usage.
In, Adam, do you know
he's been in what, 2 games so far? Yeah, he's 1 for 8 across 2 games.
You know, so if you're getting 8 at bats
a week,
that's tough, man. That's tough. And I mean, probably the performer who has been the most impressive in that on again, off again scenario is Cavan Biggio.
Yeah.
And of all the guys, he's probably got the most experience being that platoon, limited playing time guy. But boy, oh boy, he has been excellent. The opportunities Biggio has been given, he has taken full advantage of.
Certainly.
So where are you at on ABs? Because this is a problem, right? Would you say this is a problem? I know you brought up something interesting, Kevin, you heard on Blair and Barker.
Yeah, well, so I was listening to Blair and Barker the other day while I was waiting to pick my kid up from school. And look, I know the answers we're going to get from Shai Davidi or Arden Zwelling when we ask them what's going on with second base here, right? And they're going to give you all the Rogers talk of, well, it's going to be production based, and Schneider said he's going to go with the hot hand, and that may be true in intent, but there's just something about Barker when you're hearing it from a former big leaguer who played in it, who was in that situation himself in the past, to tell it like it is and to kind of give you a peek behind the curtains, between the ears, on the frustration that has to be developing there at the second base position, right? Espinal is a person with an ego and a confidence level that has gotten him to the MLB, right? So Barker brings up the point of there's not enough at-bats to go around. The usage has got to, even if publicly we never hear about it, got to be a source of contention among someone in that troop of second basemen, right? And he pointed his fingers towards Santiago Espinal, in that at a certain point, like we're looking at right now, Espinal two outings in the first 7 games. He's on pace for 46 games played this year, if everything scales out. And there's no reason to believe that it does, because that's not how life works. 46 games is not enough. Like, this is a guy in his ARB years. He's playing for a payday too, right? Not the same payday that Matt Chapman's playing for.
No, but
you know, it's hard to go into your arbitration year and say, hey, I'm worth $5 million, when the Blue Jays get to point and go, you played 46 games last year, buddy.
It must be very frustrating for the guy, because let's face it, he did have a real breakout season in 2022 All-Star. He really found his role within Major League Baseball, which is very good with the glove. He can have some hot streaks at the plate, hot enough to carry him into the All-Star game, even though, yes, I know that it was because there were some injuries to other players and he kind of got the last nod. Irrelevant. An All-Star game is an All-Star game. Very impressive. Not a lot of players wind up playing in the Major League Baseball All-Star game, and that is where Santiago Espinal found himself last year. So to now be relegated to this spot where he's not even, forget about winning that everyday second base spot, he's fighting for the most utility time, which is already being kind of handed out to Cavan Biggio. And Biggio, I mean, you look at his ABs, it's probably double. Can you bring that up real quick here, Adam, just to see where? Okay.
Cavan Biggio.
Because that's surprising to me that Espinal's only had 8 at-bats in 7 games.
Cavan Biggio has 17 plate appearances. So technically 13 at-bats, but he's got 4 walks. So, double, basically, the batting opportunities. And
he's using them.
Look, if Biggio is going to give us an on-base percentage of 400, then he's our utility
Sorry,
guy.
Espy. Like, sorry, Espy. Like, and I
So
love Santi.
and here's one thing, because we talked about this in the off season of like odd man out and what are they gonna do? Because Barker brings up the point of like the frustrations have to lead to one of these three guys going into someone's office and saying, "What are we doing here? Like,
Move
move
me.
someone or move me, right?" Because you know, Espinal could go play second baseman as a 140 games a year guy for a lot of baseball teams and could get a reasonable amount of money for him and his family.
Think
He could even
think
play
about how good
shortstop
he is.
for a good chunk
I
of
was just
teams.
going to say, think about how good his glove is and how his experience at shortstop, third, and second. You can't tell me there isn't a team out there who could use a Santiago Espinal, a guy who is under control. He's in our years. He's fairly affordable, and he just does a really good job with all the little things defensively.
So we gone into the season going, I wonder when the Jays would want to trade Espinal, right? Or just one of the second basemen. We figured
One of the
Espinal because he
second
would have
basemen.
the most value and like the quality of player you get back or whatever. But it's just interesting because I hadn't really thought about it like this, and to hear Kevin Barker frame it this way as, at what point does Espinal ask to be traded? And that's
And we're using Espinal's name here to kind of cover Merrifield and Cavan.
yeah.
And I mean,
Do you think
Lucas
the
is up right now, but if Lopez winds up being on this team at some point, like there's not a lot of playing time.
here's one thing to consider too? Like Merrifield's probably gone after this year. I know they have the mutual option, but it's like 18 million. He's getting 6
Yeah,
million this year. So
there's
they'll
no
just
way.
buy him out for $500,000 and send him on his way. But like, yeah, I don't know. It's use what you've got while you've got it, I guess, right? Is probably the attitude. And then but yeah,
This
I
is
don't
a
know. It'll
really
be interesting to see how
interesting. This
things
is a
play out.
really interesting scenario because of the fact that it's got to be frustrating to the players. You always look at it from the front office's standpoint, or I do as a fan. I'm always like, okay, well, where does this guy slot in and this guy slot in, and that's extra depth. But if you've just done what Santiago Espinal did, which was literally take yourself from obscurity, make yourself an everyday major league player, prove yourself, and then still be relegated to the bench, that's got to be frustrating. And you're right. At what point is there a straw that breaks the camel's back and somebody's in an office going, listen, Schneids, I got to get out of here. I should be playing every day in Oakland. Like,
Well, that's the thing is, I mean, if he put up 290 batting average and gold glove potentially defense for the Oakland Athletics for the rest of the season and then hit the free agent market, maybe had some
yeah.
suitors, or I guess not the free agent market because he's in his ARB years, but at least could go into the arbitrator's office and be like, hey, it doesn't matter what Oakland wants to pay me. This is what I'm worth. Here's my numbers to back it up. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, it is funny how like when we look at Vladdy and Bo and these guys, we're like, well, you know, these guys got to be frustrated and they're people and whatever. But then those supplemental pieces are on the edge. We just look at from the team perspective and go, wow, how can the team use these guys? And we don't consider how do these guys feelings factor in, right? But
So there is almost never trades in April and May. Almost never. Now, that being said, those of you who are Toronto Blue Jays fans will remember April 5th of last year, Randall Grishik swapped out for Raimel Tapia out of Colorado. So it has happened. Now, that was a little bit different of a season because of the CBA fight between the owners and the players and the fact the season started late. Season didn't even start till April 7th, which is where we are right now. So will this team consider a trade a week into the season? I doubt it very much so, but we'll wrap this topic up with just saying, let's keep our eye on the frustration level of some of these guys who are seeing less playing time than they are used to.